Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's Wednesday at noon, so it's time for our weekly Busy webinar here at BusyWeb. My name is Trigby. I will be your presenter today. We're going to be talking about campaigns that drive action, offers and promotions, and newsletters in order to try and get people through the door. So if you need to get a hold of me, you can reach me at Trigby@busyweb.com. You can also hit me up at facebook.com/busyweb. And I just want to say a couple of things before we begin. If you are wanting to get to work with us and actually ask a question, you can do so over on the right-hand side of the screen. You can, in the blue screen, you'll be able to ask any question you might want to have in there. So today, though, again, we're going to be talking about newsletters and promotions as a way to grow your business. And I just realized that I have the absolute wrong PowerPoint up. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to stop here. And I'm going to, before we get too far into this, I do want to ask, just as a quick clarifying question, because that's not what we're going to be talking about today. Today we're going to be talking about newsletters and promotions. So, quick show of hands, if you wouldn't mind answering a question or two before I get started. On the right-hand side of the screen, if you want to let us know where in the world you're coming from, we'd love to know who and what and where you are. So, if you wouldn't mind letting us know where you are, that'd be great. And you can do so on the right-hand side of the screen. And please do so now so I know that somebody is out there listening. And I appreciate your time by listening in today. I'm hopefully making a quick adjustment here, but okay, we don't have any volunteers, so let's go ahead and get started with the show. Oh, we did have one. Thanks to Keisha Johnson in Cleveland for saying hi. I appreciate that, Keisha. And Cross Lake, Minnesota, hi B, and a couple more people in Brooklyn Park, Minnesota. So thanks everybody for joining us, and more importantly, thanks for giving me a second to make sure that I've got the right stuff up. So today we're going to be talking about newsletters and announcements. So I will check in occasionally on the questions, but I can't see the questions right away. So if you do have a question, I will do my best to answer it as we get started. So my name, again, is Trigby Olson. I'm not the president, but I do work here at BusyWeb. We are a full-service digital marketing and design agency. So what does that mean in real terms? We can design a website for you, and we can design a digital marketing program that truly makes some sense and gets you to the point where your digital marketing activities are driving revenue and getting people through the door, and acting as an actual revenue stream for you, not just having a pretty website. A lot of people can make you a pretty website, but what we like to think of here as we like to think that we make money printing machines for our clients. Today we're going to be talking about newsletters and announcements, and one of the backbones of what we do here is work with our good friends at Constant Contact. They've got a great set of tools, which I will be talking about today. But I do want to preface this by saying that the time that we're going to be spending together, and I might use Constant Contact as a shorthand, really that's going to refer to any email service provider. Certainly we think there are a great amount of benefits from using Constant Contact, and I encourage you to take a look, but it's not 100% necessary by any stretch of the imagination. So we do want to give a shout out to our buds at Constant Contact, and I will offer you a special offer at the end of the day when all is said and done. So what are we going to do today, and oops, I'm going the wrong way. What are we going to do today, and how are we going to do it? First things first, we're going to talk about what exactly is a campaign and what exactly is a newsletter. What's the difference between the two, and how do they work? Next, we're going to talk about some email and provide you with some tried and true tips for more effective email marketing. Then we're going to make the connection between email and social media because in this day and age, they really have become inseparable. And then finally, we're going to be talking at length about social media, specifically what you should be thinking about if you're starting to build your online presence, and including some insight into the quote-unquote big five networks and how to think and what to say about them. So thanks, everybody, for bearing with me as we get started, but let's get right into it. First thing we're going to be talking about is what exactly is marketing. Obviously, we all see marketing, we all marketed to on a daily basis, and you already know generally what it is, but when I say the word marketing, I mean something very specific. It's important we're on the same page when we're talking about this. Marketing has three parts: defining an audience, and that's the audience is the group of people that you want to target, and then you want to seek to elicit a physical and measurable response. That could be a click, it could be a reply, it could be a call, a purchase, a referral. These are all actions that represent a decision made by a human to react to your message. So keep this in mind as we discuss marketing and marketing campaigns and the way to deliver the most effective message. Everything that we want to do, we want to get an actual physical response. And then we actually want to be able to measure that against what our expectations are. Because at the fundamental level, we need to be able to know, have we been successful in what we're doing? And have we reached a point where we can actively say that our campaign is successful? So marketing is a physical and measurable response. And there are two different kinds of marketing campaigns and two parts of a campaign that really achieve that goal. First, what you would do is push out content. And we'll talk about what content you might want to push out in a bit, but you're giving out content to the world in exchange for an expected response. And that expected response will get you to pull a response out back from your audience. You want them to read something, you want them to forward or share what you sent, what you showed up to, calling, attending an event, anything like that. You want them to take an action of some sort. So think about a campaign in terms of push-pull, and more importantly, don't just think about it as putting an offer out there and making the sale. And in this new marketing world, it's more like a conversation, which lends itself to the advantage that you have over big business. As a small company, you get to engage in a conversation with people and begin the sales process in such a way that you're immediately humanized and you're not hiding behind a big brand. I'm going to take a sec real quick before I get too deep into this and make sure that everything is running carefully, and it's a good thing it did because nobody's seeing anything. So let's try this again and present to everyone. And thanks everybody for bearing with me. Amy, I appreciate you guys giving me a chance to catch up. So perfect. That should have us started. Yep, and it looks like it's viewing now. I'm going to take a sec and let me know if you have see a cute picture of a white dog. If you could go ahead and fill it out in the comment section, just so I know that I'm sharing the right thing with you. I apologize for not sharing the exciting first three slides so far, but I'm going to go ahead and think that I've got this right, and because we're talking about pushing and pulling. So yeah, let's oops. There looks good. Thanks. Perfect. Thank you, Amy Austin. I appreciate you letting me know that we're up and running. So push content, pull response. So what is a newsletter? A newsletter, simply put, is something that's usually sent via email to your customers, to your supporters, to clients, volunteers. You're sharing information, you're sharing relevant insights about what's going on at your organization that they want to read. It's pretty simple. There are a lot of different kinds of communication newsletters that are sort of used as a catch-all in that newsletter term that you might send. So there are a couple of different things that go into that. Things like keeping your audience in the know, a newsletter, kind of the traditional sense of here's what's going on. There's cards or announcements for special events. There's business letters. There's a custom code email that does a specific thing, or even a press release. All of these sort of fall into that whole newsletter area, in which kind of gets to fall under that category of newsletters. In the old days, you could certainly print out a newsletter and send it to people, and that may get you a certain amount of response, but ultimately what is sort of the standard practice for newsletters in this day and age is email. So let's spend a little time talking about email. This is one of the biggest hurdles that a lot of people have to jump, and a lot of people don't know what to do in answering this fairly simple question. So let's ask ourselves the question, what exactly do I write about? What exactly are people going to be interested in? Well, here's a couple of things that we like to recommend to kind of get you started. First and above everything else, write about what you know that nobody else knows. You get to share your knowledge, and you get to raise your profile as an expert in your field. Next, what do you have access to that your audience doesn't necessarily have access to? And you might have more access than you might think. This could mean that you let them download a special report. You could give them backstage passes, give them early registration to an event, reserved or special VIP seating, an extra hour of your time, something like that. What you're trying to do is build what's called a resource relationship, where when their need for what you are offering, they know that they can come to you in order to get it. And finally, and most importantly, original is not required when you are sharing and writing about things. You do have to be, there is a caveat to that, but for the most part, you just have to be interesting and relevant. Now, does this mean that you can take anything that you find off the internet and claim it as your own? No, not so much, but we'll get into that a little later, and I'll walk you through a couple of ways in which you can cite this in the most appropriate way and not have to write everything originally. So question, how many of you have loved to get a 6-paragraph email that if you printed it out, it would be 4 pages long? Hopefully none of you have raised your hands because this is a webinar and I can't see you, but if you did, then we probably need to talk offline. Nobody ever really raises their hand to answer that question. If you're a church, or if you're a chamber of commerce or a school, you probably are used to getting these long emails, and we're kind of okay with those because our children and our businesses rely on information. We want to see activity, so we want to get a long email from you. But there's no rule that says your newsletter has to be long and lengthy. Generally speaking, you want to have about 3 articles. 3 is plenty. And in fact, we have a client here at BusyWeb who has a newsletter is just called The One Thing. They only share one thing in their newsletter. So what's the right rule of thumb to answer the question, how much is enough? Well, less is more. We are all very, very busy people. We are all going through life at a breakneck pace, and the only way that we can really differentiate ourselves is by not burdening our audience with an excessive amount of time. So just make it simple, couple 3 things that are really important. And when you do that, make sure you focus. What are the most important things that your audience is interested in, and present that information to them. Keep in mind as well that as of late 2013, and this number has actually gone pretty significantly higher since then, most email in this day and age is looked at on a phone, on a tablet, on a mobile device. So when you are working through these issues that we're going to talk about today, make sure you keep in mind that no matter how pretty it is and how impactful your message is, chances are really, really good that the best place that somebody's going to be able to see it is going to be on a 3.5 to 4 inch screen. Pictures are wonderful in this in this way, and pictures are certainly worth a thousand words when it comes to trying to display more in a quick manner. Here are a couple examples that we really like. I don't really know what RealWorks is, but I know what Time Magazine is, and so when I got this, I wanted to know exactly how Time Magazine was involved with these folks. When it comes to food, I love a good picture of a good salad because I hate eating salad. So it's got to be pretty and it's got to look fantastic. Otherwise, I'm not going to be interested. So when I got this, I thought, yeah, I like that. I'd like to learn more. And for special events, you can even see something that is a little out of the ordinary. It's gonna pique your interest and get you to take the necessary action, which is just simply clicking on it or even going a little further into actually seeing more and learning more about the event. So a couple of things to keep in mind. Pictures get 47% more click-through than just content without images. So about half the time, your content will increase if there's a picture. However, don't over-rely on images. Keep in mind that email as a medium is going to be cross-platform. So you're going to be dealing with people in any number of email clients, any number of email programs. And so a lot of those programs will ban images unless you actually ask them to be seen. So there has to be a combination of images and text when you write an email. And also make sure that when you do use images, you use text labels in case those images aren't displayed by the recipient's email program. So you always want to make sure that you know that your end user is going to be able to see something. And finally, don't use images of your content. What do I mean by that? Well, if I were to take a picture of the screen, the screen that you're seeing right now, you would see that there is, it's just text right now. But if I took a picture of that text, that wouldn't actually be helpful. You want email programs to be able to read words and images at the same time so that it does allow you to take the next step and actually move forward in doing something. And remember, no matter what, your content is going to be viewed on a mobile device more than half the time. I think the last number I saw was that it was most email is in 75 to 80% range being viewed on a mobile device. When I say use images carefully, this is what I mean. The one on the left, House 307 POD, I don't even know what that is. I didn't even know what that's supposed to be. It looks kind of boring. If I am going to look at that and that red X that you see there, the reason you see that is because some mobile email clients aren't going to display that images by default. So in the middle picture, we saw this image a little bit before where you could actually see more of the legs. Now it's just kind of discombobulated because the images is actually cut. The image is cut off. So what exactly is this? What exactly are they trying to tell me? I don't really know. I'd have to go figure it out, and I'd have to find out. And if I'm reading an email on my phone, I probably don't want to think that hard. Finally, and my favorite one is the one on the right. Who's with me? Who wants to get fit in the new year and go to NB Fitnet? Join now and all enroll. These are people that took a picture of their overall advertising, and when the email client that I used to see this didn't actually recognize that the picture was too big for the email client, for my mobile device, so it doesn't show the whole thing. But this would be something that if they just simply used words as opposed to a picture, the words would automatically render and you could actually read the name of the business and see what their offer is. So when you're using images, make sure that you are able to see things on a mobile device, on an iPad, on a phone, as easy as possible. What's the easiest way that I can recommend you do that? Well, simply put, just actually send it to yourself and look at it on a mobile device. If it doesn't look right on your mobile device, it's certainly not going to look right on the rest of your audience. I'm going to take a moment to check and see if we've got some questions since I had a couple of technical difficulties. If it doesn't look like we have any questions, but I did get a nice compliment on my cute white dog. My cute white dog, his name is Moose, and he's a Bichon Frise. He loves compliments, so I will be sure and pass that along to him when I get home tonight. So thanks for the compliment. Doesn't look like we have any questions yet, so we'll keep going. So some channels, social media channels, some communication channels really thrive on visuals. So what are some of those channels? Well, email is certainly one of them, where seeing a picture will truly tell 1,000 words. If you've got highly visual content or great photos of products or an event or whatever you're marketing, you can use these channels like even Instagram, email, you can use Pinterest, you can use YouTube or Facebook. A lot of customers are beginning to shop and play on these channels, so it might really be advantageous to, especially as we're talking about the integration of social and email together, to really use pictures in an effective manner. Usually when I present this, I ask a lady in the audience, that's a beautiful pink dress that you see on that Pinterest page there. If I describe that dress to you, would you be less interested or more interested in buying it? The answer is, even though I'm a silver-tongued devil, you always want to see the picture, because you want to start imagining yourself in that dress and what that dress would do for you. So keep that in mind. If you have a great visual content, to use that to your advantage. If you don't have great visual content, that doesn't mean that email or social is bad for you. It just means you have to make sure that you're using your text opportunities in a sparing manner. So we talked about this a little before about repurposing and reuse. We'll go into this a little more now. So when you write an article or when you get an article from somewhere else, if you get an article from somewhere else, the most important thing you can do is cite where you got that article. Where did you find it? Who wrote it originally? And then you can share it. But in sharing that one thing, you can repurpose and reuse it in a lot of different places. So you might send a newsletter for, I don't know, 5 tips for cleaning out your closet. And then what you could do is break up those 5 tips and tweet 1 tip a day every day for a week. So there's a great butterfly effect when it comes to this kind of effort, that you can take one piece and you can share it on multiple locations, and really to make sure that you're maximizing the use of that one particular effort. So something I want to encourage you to think of is a little campaign exercise. And before I go too deep into this, I do want to say that if you would like to get this deck after the fact, because I'm going to go through this relatively quickly to get this campaign exercise, I'm more than happy to do so. Please just reach out to us at busyweb.com and we'll be happy to do that. So a couple of things to think about. We talked about a lot of different campaigns. We talked about a lot of different methodologies in doing that. First thing I'd encourage you to do is pick 1 or 2 campaign types that you might want to try. Could be a newsletter, it could be an event, it could be an invite, it could be a coupon, anything like that. Pick one that you might want to try, and then ask yourself, what exactly am I going to write about? How exactly am I going to communicate what I want to communicate to my audience in a way that they're going to be finding interesting? So once you figure out what you're going to write about, ask yourself, what's a channel that makes sense for you and your campaign and your message? Is it email? Is it Facebook? Is it Twitter? Is it all of the above? Figure out what you want to do, how you want to do it, and then where you're going to do it. That's the first step in creating a really effective marketing campaign. I'll give you a little bit of time here so you can write this down if you'd like. But as I said, we're going to move on relatively quickly. Take a moment, check, see if we've got any questions, and I think we're still good on questions. Again, I'd encourage you on the right-hand side of the screen, if you've got a question that you would like me to answer, please go ahead and ask it there. All right, so let's talk about how to get your emails opened and how to get them to be looked at. So when I look at an email that I get, I ask myself 3 questions. Is this something that I have to do now? Do I have to take action on today? Or can I look at it later? Is it something that I can leave in my email box and come back to at a later time? Or do I need to not do anything at all? Can I just delete it and move on my merry way? So now, later, or never. These are the questions that most people ask themselves when they get an email and they get a piece of communication from you. So these 3 little words of now, later, or never rule your world as a marketer and as a business person. Every email, every social media post that you get falls into one of these categories. And if the answer is now or later, I'm going to take a little bit more of an evaluative process in determining how much before I really get my answer into one of those buckets. Who is it from? Is it somebody that I know? Is it somebody that I don't know? One of the things that I laugh at a lot is if I get an email from info@companyname.com. Well, I know a lot of people in my travels here at BusyWeb, but I don't know anybody named Info. So when I get an email from Info, I don't necessarily know who that is. What's the subject line? Is it something that is going to make me want to sit up and take notice, or is it something that I can ignore to later? How many of you this month got an email that the subject line was newsletter, Feb? Okay, great. I've gotten your newsletter. I don't need to do a thing with it. Delete. Make sure that the subject line is interesting, and we'll talk about that in just a second. Finally, when do you send your communication? Your audience has a specific time and day that's going to work out the best for them to really get them excited about opening your email, and I'll show you a little bit about how to answer that. So, for instance, if we were running a bar, the best time to tell people about our weekend specials is Wednesday afternoon, because we want them to come Thursday, which is usually one of the busiest nights in the bar business. By Friday or Saturday, most people are spending time with their family. So you have a best time to send your communication. I'll help you determine what that is. So how do you win the battle of priorities? How do you get people to stop what they're doing, open your email, or to stop and read your Facebook post or your tweet or your pin on Pinterest? Who the message is extremely important. So how are you the most recognizable? So is it your business name? Do you have a nickname? Do people know you by your actual name? That's what the email needs to come from, because people are going to be communicating with you on a one-to-one basis, not as a company. Remember, that's one of the advantages you have as a small business owner, is you get to be a person. You're not a big, giant, faceless company. When you determine how you are the most recognizable, make sure that it's consistent across all of your platforms. Make sure that when you're posting something on Facebook, you're not talking about it as if you were the mythical character of info at. You're a real person. You have real good qualities. You want to make sure that you are allowing people to know who you are as a person across all of your social channels. With email specifically, though, you want to make sure that you are following the CAN-SPAM Act. And what is the CAN-SPAM Act? It's a nasty piece of legislation that says that you have to provide people with a couple of different things so that they can unsubscribe from a marketing email list in order to become thought of as legal. I'm sure a lot of you, like I do, get a lot of spam, people from foreign countries that just want my bank account information. Fun fact, those are all illegal emails. If they were sent in the United States, they could be prosecuted. So I added a link here that if you wanted to go to that particular link, you can learn a little bit more about the CAN-SPAM Act. It's big, it's scary, it's not that hard. Basically, you just want to make sure that you are only sending emails to people that you know or that you have permission to email from. So when part of who you are is not just the name, but it's also the brand consistency that you come from. And so I included some consistency in the brands that we're offering, that we've done here at BusyWeb. But whatever system you want to use, you want to make sure that they have a couple of things. Number one, they want to have mobile-friendly templates that are easy to edit, to match colors to the brand, to make sure people can easily know that from a look and feel perspective, they should be able to feel reflective of your brand. So the colors, the logos, all of those need to be integrated. So the first two, obviously, because it's lunchtime, those are food-based ones, and so when you look at that, you recognize what the logo is, and you are asking yourself not what was, but actually asking yourself what could be. If you go to Taste Good Bar and Grill, you could have that pizza. And oh, by the way, they're offering a deal on cocktails. If you're working in a nonprofit, one of the things that is frequently used is the temperature gauge as a way to gauge fundraising success. Something that you can easily look at a glance, and everybody can understand how successful the campaign is. So again, consistency in a combination of text and pictures is really going to get you noticed and get people to read a little further. So let's talk about the subject line. How do we win that battle of priorities, or the headline of your social media post? Here's a simple method for writing a powerful subject line. It's called the 2-2-2 principle. So you've got 2 seconds, the first 2 seconds of the interaction, and the first 2 words that you are using to get somebody to do something today. 2 seconds, the first 2 words to get something done today. Now, when I say 2 words, that doesn't mean that you only have to have 2 words in your subject line, but the first 2 words are the most important. Here's a couple of examples. So, March newsletter. I kind of made fun of this a little earlier. That's boring. Everybody has a newsletter. I'm not going to read that. Instead of writing March newsletter, how about tomorrow? Need 3 hammers. Can you help? There's a sense of urgency in what's going on there. The first 2 words clearly stating what the purpose of the email is in order to get you to take an action. Joe's Pet Store newsletter. As you saw, my dog, I'm a big dog guy. I'm one of those people that I got a small dog thinking I wasn't going to get a bunch of silly little outfits. Now all I do is buy silly little outfits for my dog, and I get pet store newsletters. But that's not interesting to me, just to get Joe's Pet Store newsletter. What's more interesting to me is alert, help your dog beat the heat. Oh my. I love my dog. I want to help him beat the heat. I'm going to read more because the first 2 words have enticed me that this is an important sense of urgency thing that I need to do today. Third, children's classes. Okay, that's fine, I guess. But instead of writing just children's classes, how about if we said, still time, available for children's classes today? Openings, if it's still time, that means that openings are going fast. I better take an action today and actually move forward in what we're doing. So the first 2, the 2-2-2 principle, the first 2 seconds to get those first 2 words to get somebody to do something today is what we want to include in our subject lines. But then the next question is, when exactly do we send these emails? For newsletters or email marketing, generally a monthly is the most common, but it's good to throw in an extra message every once in a while, just to, especially if it's an exciting announcement, to get people to remembering you, not in a specific clockwork fashion, to let people know that exciting things are going on at your company. So as you're trying to determine what is the best day and time to send out your newsletter, the first question we want to ask is, when are my readers likely to take the action that I want? When is going to be the most likely time they're going to click through and take the action, which could be read more, actually make a purchase, any of those things. When are they going to take the action I want? And then what we're going to do is we're going to go through a bit of a social experiment and test how we're going to test what exactly is the best time in order to do that. So how do we find our best day? So what we're going to do is stay with me throughout this whole thing. It gets easy towards the end. we're going to take our one hypothetical email, and then we're going to divide our list into 3 different groups of people: Group A, Group B, and Group C. And with our 3 groups of people, we're going to send them the same email on 3 different days. We're going to test which day is going to be the most effective. And with Constant Contact and any email service provider, really, you'll be able to tell, based on when you sent that email, how many people opened that email, how many people took the action you wanted, how many people actually got into it. So we want to watch for our best response. So by sending the same email to 3 groups of people, hypothetically, we're going to be able to know that on the hypothetical Wednesday, more people took the action that we wanted them to take. So we've identified what's our best day to get people to take the action that we want. I want to take a moment and talk a little bit about the difference between action and reading an email. Reading an email is usually the first step, but actually taking an action is the qualifier that is the most important that we want to offer people. Because anybody can drive by a billboard, but does that mean that if you're driving by that billboard, you're actually going to buy that product or service today? Chances are probably not. So when we're talking about responses, that's why that's the most important thing, not just a read rate. So how do we find our best time? Similarly to how we did it with the day, we're going to use our same group, 3 groups of people, and then we're going to break up the day into 3 different times, and then test and see which day got us the best result. And so at the end of this, hypothetically, we're going to be able to know that when we send out our emails on this day at this time, we will get the best response for our specific audience. Statistically speaking, Constant Contact will tell you that the best time to send out an email is on Tuesday or Wednesday between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. However, Constant Contact has about 1.5 million email clients that they work with. So that's a lot of email going out to a 10-hour period. Your offers and what you might be doing might be completely different. So when do you send or post? I talked about this a little earlier. The important thing to keep in mind is you don't want to be seduced by a high open rate. An open rate is somebody who's just opening the email, they're not actually taking the action. That's not the start of the process that we want. We want people to actually start engaging with us. So measure the actions that people are taking. Measure what's being clicked. How many times is it being clicked? How many times is it being shared? Those are actual actionable things. So some practical advice as we're getting deeper into this. Remember, 2/3 of email service providers don't provide images by default. Text links will get more click than a button, so you don't have to have a button in an email. Place your logo in the left or center of the email. Again, remember NB Fitne, and that fitness got broken off, so it just said Fitne. You want to make sure that at the very least your logo is clearly seen. And then include the company name that you are sending from in the text of the email somewhere. Again, keep in mind of that NB Fitne. You always want to make sure that if the email renders differently on a smaller device, then it's able to be seen. The key action that you want people to take has to be above the scroll line, and that's the scroll line is that arbitrary thing at the bottom of the screen that you have to scroll down to get to see more information. In the newspaper world, that's considered the fold. The most important thing is put above the fold of the newspaper. The less important stuff is put on the bottom. So that's what a scroll line is. Don't give too many choices. If you're giving people a lot of choices, typically they don't choose what you want them to take. So make sure that choices are a few, no more than a couple or 3. And then finally, make sure that all images are clickable and take you somewhere, and with text labels. So the kiss of death in this kind of effort is if you are hypothetically presenting a product, let's say, and you're asking people to buy it, and they finally click on that product, the picture of the product, and it takes them to what? A picture of the product. That's not helpful. It just annoys your end user, and you've potentially lost a sale on it. So make sure that all the images are clickable to somewhere. And if you're not sure how this works, send it to yourself, test it to yourself, look what it looks like on your mobile device. We all carry supercomputers in our pocket all the time. So actually figuring out what it looks like is just as simple as sending it to yourself. So we've talked a little bit about newsletters and how to make them more effective. Let's talk about how we can include email and social to work together to actually get this to work to the most to our advantage. I'm going to take a quick moment and see if we've got any questions. Looks like we're still good to go, so let's keep going. And thanks everybody for sticking with me throughout this so far. I apologize for the sniffles, but I swear I'm getting better. So social media for small business, a lot of us have heard, especially at Thanksgiving, where great Aunt Edna will say, well, I heard that so-and-so made $1 million using Facebook. Well, that's true. There was a time in which you could do that, and that was about 8 years ago, where not as many businesses were using social to their advantage. In today's day and age, though, most everybody is using a social channel one way or the other. It's an important statistic to realize as well how integral social media has become as a marketing tool for small organizations. It does work, but when I say it works, what exactly does that mean? If everybody's doing it or everybody's doing things that don't work, what is it about social media that actually makes results? Well, first of all, it influences decisions. 75% statistically of people rely on social networks to guide a purchasing decision. As means of demonstration, I'd encourage you to think of this. How many times have you gone onto your Facebook feed and someone's asked a simple question of, does anybody know a good plumber? Does anybody know where I can get my computer fixed? The reason is people are looking to rely on their social networks to help them make a purchasing decision. In addition to that, it influences word of mouth. Customers tell their friends about you. Over half of the people share information about their purchases on social networking. And finally, it also influences people's connections to nonprofits. Statistically, they found 70% of people will go online and learn about charities and causes that their friends support when their friends post about it on social media. So it's important that all of the reason that we want to be in this space is because it influences buying decisions. When you combine email with social media, the combination increases the reach of your email into a campaign that actually grows your audience. So when sending out our email to our social channels, it amplifies the overall value of it. Usually it'll get you to about a 97% deliverability rate, which is generally higher with constant contact, but on average, that's what the standard rate is. And in doing so, we are asking people to take an action. And what exactly is that action? One of the easiest ways to do that is to drive people back to your list, to your email, to your website. So it starts a spiral effect of engagement and getting people involved and working with us. So here's a couple of people that are doing this really well. This is Boloco, is based on the East Coast. These folks, it's kind of like Chipotle. It's a burrito joint, and you can see the colors across all of their channels are similar. They've got brand consistency. They've got great images. They've got good subject lines in what they are talking about. And that email, their subject line, if you can't read it, says free mini falafel burrito. I'm not exactly sure what a falafel burrito is, but they had me at free. Here's another one that is this time of year that is pretty big. We have a girl in the office here who is torturing me, and she comes in every other day and buys. I feel obligated to buy more cookies from her because she's just so darn cute. So the Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas, you can see they've carried their branding across a lot of different platforms. It has that similar green. It's got a lot of really great original content that they're sharing with people. It's also tax season. Taxes, you might think, is not the most exciting thing in the world. Liberty Tax Service has done really well in pushing out that red, white, and blue methodology. A lot of times you'll see the folks, especially here in the upper Midwest, of those poor souls dressed as the Statue of Liberty with the tax sign. But they do great with brand consistency, great design, lots of helpful tips, lots of helpful links, so that you understand that when the time comes to get your taxes done, these are good people to work with. So before I take next steps, I'm going to quickly see if we've got any questions. Looks like we are still good, and looks like still have the audience with me, so that's great. Let's talk about next steps. A couple of tools I want you to consider to expand your reach. Constant Contact has a simple share tool that you can add into your emails. Makes it easy to push your email campaigns or events or surveys out onto multiple channels with just a few clicks. Social media buttons should be everywhere. It should be part of your signature file on your email. It should be on your website. Your social media channels should have links to other social media channels. It should be a big chain of links to encourage people to follow you on the various networks. When you're doing an email newsletter, it's important to have a social share bar at the top and at the bottom, so you can share. You can have those links available just about anywhere within your campaign. Offline is great as well. You don't necessarily have to have an automated tool, but something as simple as having an email sign-up list at your register, or giving people the opportunity to sign up if you give them a check at the end of the meal, or on a registration form. How many times have you seen, oh, by the way, would you like to be signed up for our newsletter? The reason that people do that is 6 out of 10 times, statistically speaking, if you ask people to give you their email address, if you just ask the question, they will say yes, 6 out of 10 times. So really, as we're thinking about growing our list, we really only have to worry about 4 out of the 10 people, because 6 out of 10 times we can just ask the simple question. Make sure that you've got sign-up tools on your website. Make sure that you also have sign-up tools on your social channels. Constant Contact has a great social sign-up tool that is easy to be downloaded into your Facebook page. And finally, this seems a little strange, but make sure that you add in a place to join an email list on your emails. The reason you want to do that is you're encouraging your audience to share your emails with other people, and in doing so, you want the friends of your friends to be able to become the friends of you, to have joining our mailing list easily available. A couple of other tools you might want to think of is Scan to Join, which it gives you a QR code that if you scan it, it will automatically join. And then there's also Text to Join, which is a new feature from Constant Contact, where all you need to do is to text to a specific number, and it will automatically add you to the email list. A couple of other tools that are great. This is sort of helps expand the capability of the products. iCapture, Shoeboxed, Wisestamp, all of these kind of help with automation and kind of help with helping to grow your list and to aggregate more people onto your list. When we're talking about what to write and how to write it, one of the things that we like to encourage our clients to do here at BusyWeb, and something that we actually do for them, is by creating a content calendar, where we literally sit down with the calendar for the month and say, what are we going to post and when are we going to post it? One of the things that we found that makes this so much easier is once we know what the calendar looks like, we don't have to ask the question of, oh boy, what am I going to post today? Instead, all we need to do is create a plan and then execute the plan. And you can see here's what a hypothetical example is, where we provide a motivational quote on Monday, tips and tricks during the weeks, and then towards the end of the week, we talk about news, and we also talk about promotions. This is certainly something that I'd be happy to share with you. If you want to reach out to me after the fact, that'd be perfect. So here's what a live account looks like in Constant Contact. If you see this, you can see how easy some of the statistics are that you can get. You can see how many people you sent it to, how many people you opened it to. You can see when you look at a newsletter, you can see how many people actually took the action you want to take. A couple of different front doors, but ultimately it gets to the same place. And here's what creation of a constant contact newsletter looks like. Not real difficult to do. It's very drag and drop. It's very easy to do. So here's a picture of our founder, Dave Meyer, here at BusyWeb. I'm going to check and see if we have any questions so far, and it looks like we don't. So I'm going to say thank you all for joining us, and I appreciate you bearing with some of the technical difficulties that I had. But if you're interested in taking part and learning more about Constant Contact, we have a 60-day trial that is offered absolutely for free. You can see it at the bottom of your screen. It's busyweb.com/cc. And once again, if you're interested in taking part in some of our services, we do a lot of different things related to digital marketing. Web design is one of our bread and butters. Creating a website that actually has people to take forward momentum action with you. We host websites here at BusyWeb, and then we also have a number of online digital marketing programs that we use in order to help you grow your business offline, get more people through the door, promote your products, and grow your revenue. If you're interested in learning more about these, please give us a call at BusyWeb. I'd be more than happy to share any of this with you. This has been our busy webinar. We do these every Wednesday at noon, and I thank those of you who stuck with me through the live presentation. If you aren't viewing this live and you're viewing this on YouTube, hello, first of all. Second of all, every time we do one of these, we automatically archive it to YouTube, so you're able to view it after the fact. If you can't make it Wednesday at noon, you can see it if there's an event that you think is going to be helpful for you, and you can catch it up on YouTube. But thanks again, everybody, for joining us. And then one final thing before we sign off. As a thank you for bearing with me through the technical difficulties, I want to let you know that we do offer a free Buzz Report. It's a 12-page audit of your website and everything you're doing well and everything you can improve upon. It's something we offer for free for everybody who takes part in our busy webinar. You can find that at busyweb.com/buzz. It takes about a minute to fill out and to present you with the form. And again, it's no harm, no foul if you don't want to do it, but it's a free tool, and it's a great opportunity to really jumpstart your marketing and supercharge your marketing in 2016. Thanks, everybody, for joining us, and thanks, everybody, for staying with us here at BusyWeb's Busy Webinar for the week. And if you have any questions, please feel free and reach out to me. Again, my name's Trygve with BusyWeb. And if I don't hear from you, we will see you next week at noon. Take care, everyone.